This is the Intense Cycles Primer 275, which is their mid-travel trail bike. And it actually comes in two different variations, the 27.5 or the 29er. So I opted for the 27.5 version, well, and that's only because of the parts that I already had. So I picked up a frame only with the intentions of swapping the majority of the parts from my old Intense Tracer. This bike is actually super versatile. Depending on how you build it up will really determine how this bike performs. On one side, you can go the really super lightweight route, put on some XC style tires, some lighter rims, and it really changes it. I've used Kenda Booster Pro tires front and rear, and it really brought the weight down on this bike. In this spec, the bike is actually super capable in the climbing department and also makes the bike really playful. I've even set some climbing KOMs on that bike in this config. But most of the time, I try to keep some trail style tires on it. The bike climbs really well for being a 150/140 trail bike. I rarely had to use the climb switch on the Fox DPX2 in the 1,000+ miles that I put on this bike. I even put in a big day on this bike where I went 34 miles and I climbed 5,800 feet. That was a big day, especially since I was running really aggressive tires on that ride, which was a real downside. I shouldn't have done that. This bike shreds on the downhill thanks to its 150mm travel up front and the 140mm of travel in the rear. It has an adjustable head tube angle of 65.3 degrees in the low setting and 64.7 in the lower setting. Most of the time, I ran it in the low setting instead of the lower setting, as the slightly steeper head tube angle was nice for the steep climbing out here. In its last form, the bike was incredibly planted and could plow through rough terrain like it was a groomed single track. Honestly, it probably allowed me to go faster than I otherwise would have wanted to. And in that form, I replaced the Fox DPX2 shock for a Marzocchi Bomber CR coil shock. That alone made a substantial difference to this bike, giving it a super planted ride. I was also running the Versys tires, which are a more aggressive tire. Inside the tires, I was running Cushcore Pro, which really allowed me to air down the tires, giving me quite a bit more of a smoother ride. Unfortunately, with the addition of the coil shock, Cushcore, and heavier tires, the bike did get really heavy and weighed in over at 35 pounds. Quite a lot more than when I had built it up as a lightweight trail bike, and that came in at around 31 pounds. All in all, this bike is a do-it-all trail bike capable of handling gnarly terrain and putting in some big days on the bike. If you're looking at picking this bike up, it's a great option and you really will enjoy it. While I have enjoyed this bike, I'm actually selling mine. Subscribe so you see what bike I'm getting next.